We had started this thing where we challenged ourselves to how long could we go in the morning without picking the phone up.
That's so
So
great. That's
each
wonderful.
day we would text each other, I made it 5 minutes today. And she was, I've made it 2 hours. This is Life Rewired, the brain injury podcast for survivors by survivors. And now your host, Rob and Ashley.
Okay. These companies pay people who are much smarter than I or anybody I know to make it addictive. If I
Yes.
post something on Facebook, I'm talking to somebody and I get a ding, ding. Oh, someone liked what I have. I got serotonin. I get happy chemicals. Now I feel better about myself. Now I'm looking for serotonin. I'm on my phone all day long. The
Mm-hmm.
phones also give us other chemicals that make us addicted. And so if I wake up in the morning and I'm on my phone for an hour, these happy chemicals aren't endless. So at the end of the day, am I having happy chemicals when I have something good or watch my favorite TV show or go for my walk at night? No, I'm a little numb. The happy chemicals ran out a little bit. When we play on our phones, it gives us happy chemicals in our brain. If we play on our phones for the first hour we're awake, it affects us differently. It can lead, we don't have as many of those happy chemicals produced at nighttime or in the afternoon so by you postponing is really good. I'm going to share a couple
So,
things if I may. Really, you want to tell me
yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah.
please?
I was gonna say, would that kind of have a link to where, like, say you eat a bunch of sugar in the morning, and then you're all hyped up, and then all of a sudden you do a crash? Would that be kind of the same thing, or?
I like the metaphor. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know if it really works, but I like the metaphor. So, listen, I really like chocolate cake. And if I have a chocolate cake in my fridge and I eat it before 10 o'clock, there's no chocolate cake at 11 or 12 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or
Mm,
6. What is my mood going to be? No more chocolate cake. Hopefully, with brain energy, you don't eat too much chocolate cake. We need to eat healthy things. We need vitamins. We need nutrients. We need to talk to.
yeah.
On the back of your 800 number, back of your insurance card, 888 number, get a dietitian or nutritionist. Get food that's good for your brain. Cut out the Diet
Mm,
Coke. Cut out the Diet Pepsi. Those chemicals are so bad if you didn't have a brain injury. When I went to Brain Injury Association, I learned to cut out sodas. I learned to cut out junk food, and I felt so much better about myself. Right?
yep.
You're doing something so good by not looking at the phone for the first hour. I'm going to share something else that's random.
Sure.
When anybody with a brain injury or anybody wakes up in the morning, if within the first few minutes they're in the sunlight, natural light, it gives them more energy for the day. People with a brain injury suffer depression and low energy. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you have to jump and run into the outside and get dressed. There's a window in your bedroom probably. Open the blind, close your eyes, feel the sun in your face for a few seconds. You will
Mm,
have more energy through the day. You can't get out of bed in the morning? Listen to a motivational speaker. Mel Robbins is one. She's wonderful. She says, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on when you get out of bed. You can't get out of bed? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You hit one, you get out of bed. When you wake up in the morning, if you can't get out of bed in the first few minutes, you're less likely to get out of bed for the next few minutes. When you wake up, if you get out of bed in the first few minutes when you wake up, it's easier to get up than if you wait too long. If I'm in bed for 10 minutes, I'm going to be in bed for an hour. I'm not going to do anything.
this is true.
In bed, we only sleep or intimacy. When I get in bed and I'm on the phone, my brain, when I get in bed, goes, oh, it's time to be on the phone. If I'm in bed and I'm reading your book, Rob, my brain says, oh, it's time to read Rob's book. It's not time to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Every person who's watching this show, if you have a brain injury, may or may not have sleep issues, you can Google sleep hygiene. The bed is only for sleep or intimacy. I'm not having sex, must be time to go to sleep. Your brain goes to sleep. When I sit at my kitchen table, it's time to eat. I start salivating. If I sit at my desk, it's time to work. I'm ready to go to work. Put yourself in the environment that's going to be the best for you.
Great information.
I hope this is helpful for your audience. I really do.
Hey, it's helpful for me. So, I mean, hello. That I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people.
I hope so. I hope so. My
Yeah.
hope is that people share this because we're sharing really positive messages.
Mm-hmm.
If people are outside of New York, I couldn't see them, but I want to mention something about finding a therapist. Do we have time? A few minutes?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. When somebody buys a car, they go look for 6 months or 3 months. If you buy a new dishwasher, you look for a few weeks at least. When you find a therapist, you pick up the phone, you call the first person on the list, and you wait for them to call you back, and that's who you work with. That's wonderful, but they may not be the best match. When
Mm,
somebody interviews for a job, they don't just interview you. You could be the best candidate. They may even know you, but they interview 10 or 20 or 100 other people because then they end up with the best match.
wow.
If you're in a relationship, did you marry the first person you met? No. You dated. You kissed a lot of frogs or toads. Everybody does before they find the one, if they find the one.
Right.
Okay. It's really, really important to ask the therapist that you speak to the same questions, 1 or 2 or 3 questions. A Freudian therapist is a therapist who'll sit here and just look at you until you say something sometimes. I'm going to wait for you to think of something. Well, that feels a little uncomfortable being stared at like that for most people.
Mm.
I'm not a Freudian therapist. I learned a lot about Freud and a lot of things that help clients, but I'm not a Freudian therapist. I'm going to talk to you like a normal person. Hey, Rob, how do you feel about this? Hey, Rob, what's the highlight of your weekend? What was something fun for you? Make it okay for you to connect. Okay.
Yeah.
Does this resonate with you at all? What do you think of what I'm sharing with you?
That makes me think you're taking a sit back and you're waiting for me to say something.
So, as a Freudian therapist, when I sit back and wait for you to say something and you don't say anything, I'm going to keep waiting usually. That happens a lot. Not every therapist,
Hmm.
but sometimes. I want a therapist who's going to talk to me like a normal person.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, it wasn't a client, so I can share this with you. A friend of mine was talking to his therapist and said, "Oh, is that a cat I heard?" And the therapist said, "How does that relate to therapy?" I don't have a cat, but if I have a cat and you say, "Is that a cat?" I'm going to say, "Yeah, that's my cat. I showed you my bear. I'm certainly going to show you my cat." There's different kinds of therapists, and you get to find the best match for you. You're going to ask
Mm.
them 1 question or 2 questions or 3 questions. If you're going to dinner tonight, you're a vegetarian. Are you going to go to the steakhouse? No, you're going to call them and say, "My friends want to go here. Do you have a salad? Do you have vegetarian options?" Now that's a match. They do have vegetarian options. If not, you tell your friend, "We got to go to a different steakhouse. They don't have any vegetarian options for me." I'm not a vegetarian, but if you are, that's wonderful. It's all about getting our needs met. And when we have a therapist, I tell every client, "You are my boss and you're your boss." They have autonomy. If somebody wants me to give them directions, tell them how to run their lives, we're not a match. There are some therapists who are very directive. Your marriage is going to work out. You have to divorce. And you have to move to a new state. You have to get this other job. I hear
Mm.
stories and I say, "Your therapist told you that?" I give everybody autonomy. If you go to a restaurant, there's 2 things on the menu. We talk about those and we talk about a couple others and we talk about what's the best choice for you. But it's you who decide. I give you autonomy as a therapist. If that's important to you to have autonomy, when you talk to a therapist and you interview them, you say, "My autonomy is really important. Are you a directive therapist or do you help me process and figure out the answers myself?" Maybe because of my brain injury or because of how I live my life, I want someone who's going to direct me for a little bit. Eventually, I want to make my own choice. But in the beginning, I'm going to need someone who's more directive. Are you able to do that? Give me a little more direction. You know, 6 months, I haven't looked up the Brain Injury Association. Okay, Tyler, what's the obstacle? How can I be helpful? How can I be more influential to get you there? Right? It's really important to ask questions so that you find your match so you can get your needs met.
Mm.
We don't always know how to get our needs met. It's about getting our needs met. Doesn't mean you're a selfish jerk, you don't care about anybody else. I meet other people's needs and I get my needs met. I deserve that. I'm enough. I deserve to have my needs met. So do
Gosh.
you. So does everybody's watching. You deserve to have your needs met. You deserve to have you deserve to have your needs met. You're enough, even if you don't think you are.
I'm going to echo that because that's funny you said that because that's kind of in my book. I talk about finding somebody that's a good fit
It's true.
because I don't know how many therapists I went through, but the, like you said, the first one's not the best match for you always. I went to one that had stripes all over I hate stripes. Now,
That'd be religious. That'd be overwhelming for me.
would I've got a thing out of therapy? Not a chance. Because the entire time I'm gonna be sitting there going, oh, I hate stripes. So yeah, you got to find something that works for you.
I agree. I agree. Rob, when I lived in Vermont for undergrad, I was studying philosophy. That's when I had my brain injury. There was 2 grocery stores that were very popular. One was Price Chopper. It was very crowded. You went to the grocery aisle, there was 1,000 cereal boxes. The lighting was horrible. The aisles were tight. It was like being in a casino.
Oh wow.
And I would leave and I'd be exhausted. And I'd go to the brain injury group and I was embarrassed. Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong? And I thought, I'm going to ask people. I said, is it weird with brain injury when you go to Price Chopper? They said, oh, the lighting's horrible. It's too crowded, too many choices. I go to Hannaford's. The aisles are wider. They have 10 cereals. It's less overwhelming. Guess what? Going from Price Chopper to Hannaford, I don't get paid by either of them, was a positive thing with my brain injury because I wasn't overwhelmed. That simple little shift added quality to my life. Everyone who's watching today, you don't have to invent some new science that's going to cure the world or cure cancer. You just have to do one thing for yourself today that might help your mind. During COVID, I was in New York City seeing a lot of clients that were very suicidal, passive and active ideation. It was a very challenging time for me. And I said to myself, even though I'm a therapist, it was a challenging time for me. What are 3 things I can do for my mental health every day? I'd read a positive book, a paragraph. I'd go for a walk. Maybe that day I eat a healthy meal. The next day, maybe I call a friend who's had a brain injury and talk to them about life. Maybe I do some exercise or go for a walk. During COVID, I went from seeing 23 clients to 43 clients. Many of them had a lot of issues because of COVID in New York City. It was very different than the rest of. If you weren't a big city, it was very different.
Yeah.
You still have an option. You still have an option to get your needs met. If you can't do 3 things today for yourself, do 2. If you can't do 2 things for yourself, do 1. If you can't do 1 thing for yourself today, what is 1 thing you can do this week that shows your self-love, that shows you that you have the capacity to heal and care for yourself?
Yeah.
What's just 1 thing? What's 1 thing you might do today for yourself? I'll go for a walk. After this, I have a little break. I'm going to have a little lunch. Sorry if anyone is hungry. And then I'm going to I'll go for a walk, and that'll be good for my mental health and good for my physical health. Will I walk for an hour? No, 30 minutes at a time, once or twice a day. It helps me to sleep better. I've been talking a lot. This is your show. Do you have questions? Do you have things you want to share? Please.
I'm enjoying the information. You are just a wealth of knowledge. And it's just amazing some of the things you touched on. I've said these things or I believe these things. So it's just amazing. Yeah.
There's a lot of
Great
resources out
information.
there. There's a lot of
There
resources
is.
out there.
And that's the thing. I'm trying to get the resources to people because you don't know what you don't know.
Instead of asking yourselves, what if I can't? What if we say, what if I can?
Yes.
Instead of what if, what is? Tell me.
I have a coworker that she's always a negative person because that's how she was brought up.
That's
Her
right.
mother
That's right.
constantly said, "You can't,
That's
you
right.
don't, you do, you know." There was a lot of mental abuse there, and I'm constantly telling her, "But what if you try this and it works? What have you
That's right.
lost if you tried it and it doesn't work? You haven't lost anything. If you don't do it, the answers are already no.
It's true.
So
It's true. It's true. I'll go to
why not
therapy
try for
one
a
day.
yes?"
I'll go to therapy one day, maybe 6 years. Well, what if you go now? Why wait 6 years? What can you gain if you go now? Well,
Hmm.
I can't afford it. Well, are there grants? Have you looked at those grants for Brain Injury Association? Are you a minority? Are you a person of color? Are you female? Are you a certain religion? Does your church have a grant? Right? Does your family have some money?
Right.
Is there something you can sell and go to the reduced fee therapy? Right? If you don't have insurance, you can call the city of wherever you live and ask for the Office of Disabilities and tell them you need insurance, you had a brain injury X number of years ago, and you need resources, you need support, you need help.
Yeah. They're more than willing to give you the information, but if you don't call, you're not going to get it.
It's true.
The information won't come looking for you. You got to go looking for the information.
It's true. I want to tell you a funny story about my dad. My dad died about 9 years ago, and he was brilliant. And my dad would have me look for something, and I'd go look for it in the shop, and I couldn't find it. And he'd say, "Look, mijo." Mijo is a term of endearment in Spanish. Look, mijo, it was right there. If it was a snake, it would have bit you. Well, you have a phone, you have the internet. I don't have any resources. If you can't pick up the phone and call resources, could you at least do a search and make a list of them?
Hmm.
What 1 thing can you do today? I really challenge everybody to ask yourself, what's 1 thing I do for myself today? Rob, you've inspired me. I'm not going to get on my phone for the first hour moving forward. I usually hold off for 20, 30 minutes. You can go an hour. An hour is my new goal. If Rob can do it, I'm going to try. That's one thing I can do for myself every single day, and it will help me to have a better day. I want to say,
I'm glad I could inspire you.
thank you. Sometimes
go ahead.
therapy is a giant leap forward. People make these giant advances. If you just make a grain of sand of difference today, one grain of sand, and you keep that for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell? There's a seesaw and there's an elephant, and you put a grain of sand. Can that lift an elephant? No. Can a grain of sand lift an elephant? Eventually, I'm going to drop a grain of sand, and that elephant's going up. You don't have to invent the wheel. One grain of sand for yourself. One grain of sand today. One simple thing I can do for myself. I can drink more water. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I need to do that. One analogy that I used when I started this podcast, it was slow to grow, which all new growth is slow. That's a given.
Certainly.
But there was mostly positive feedback. But one guy said something to me about, well, you're not going to reach the world. And I said, I'm a realistic person. I'm not going to reach the world. But it reminded me of the story. You've probably heard it before. This little boy is walking down the beach and he's picking up the starfish.
Sand dollars or jelly starfish, yes.
Throwing them back into the ocean. And the old guy comes up and says, little boy, you're not going to save all those starfish. And he said, no, but I made a difference for this one.
That's right. Rob, that is so beautiful and empowering. That's wonderful. We don't know the difference we make for people.
Right.
We don't know the difference we make for people. A kind word for ourselves can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's a neuroscientist and he says, I look in the mirror and I say, I love you. Now go look in the mirror today and say, I love you. It feels weird. It feels awkward. But when you're done, you're smiling and you're laughing and you have good chemicals in your brain. How many times a day can you say, I love you? What are you telling yourself instead? Are you criticizing yourself? You get out of the shower before you see yourself in the mirror when you're getting dressed. Do you say mean things or do you say nice things? What language do you speak to yourself in? What tone do you use?
Daily affirmations.
Are you putting positivity? Or are you putting negativity? Because garbage in, garbage out.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. My coworkers have a term that they'll say, Rob can ruin a bad day really fast. Because I don't ever look at the rain.
That's hysterical.
I look at the silver lining.
I'm giving you a high five. That's great. I love that. It took me a second. Rob can ruin a bad day really fast. You're an optimist. How'd you get to be that way? How'd you get to be that way?
How did I get? I don't know. I don't like being negative because it is a lot more fun to smile and to be happy.
It is.
That's what I tell everybody.
It is. For some people, it's a choice. For some people, it's not a choice. It's chemical, and they need medicine or they need therapy. If someone grows up in a world of toxicity and negativity, they suffer neglect. They don't think they deserve to have their needs met. Now they get in a relationship with someone who doesn't meet their needs. They get a job with a boss who doesn't meet their needs. They get a therapist who doesn't meet their needs. We can change like 30 or 35% of who we are. And the rest is constant from our developmental years. We're sponges.
Yes, we are.
When I meet people at a party and they say, you're a therapist, and I say, I can't talk about your mother. And they say, how did you know? Well, it's your mother taught you a lot of good stuff too, but your mother taught you how to be a parent, taught you how to be in a relationship, how to be affectionate, how to be mean, how to be nice, how to cook. You learn a lot from your mother.
Yeah.
If I had a mother who was positive and loving, I might be a positive and loving person. If I had a mother who was mean, cruel, unkind, I might be a cruel, mean, unkind person. You think that guy's such a jerk. Who raised him? What we internalize as a kid, we keep until we change it. We have a lot of myths. We're taught a lot of silly things.
Yeah. And when you're taught that over and over again, that myth in your mind becomes a reality.
I agree. You tell somebody something enough, they start to believe it, don't they?
Yes.
So what are you telling yourself? I'm a good person. I'm a bad person. I'm a nice person. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to have happy relationships. I deserve to have a good job. I deserve to get out of this bed one day. I deserve to walk one day or go to physical therapy one day. What are we telling ourselves?
Yeah.
My family doesn't get it. They're not being supportive. Well, I'm going to go to the Brain Injury Association. I'll find some friends there. Maybe I go to meetup.com. I don't work for them either, but meetup.com, you can find a lot of social support groups. You can find a lot of connections. You want to go swimming the day, New Year's Day, with a bunch of people in San Francisco or New York or anywhere in the world, meetup.com, it's there. You like to play cribbage. There's people who play cribbage with you. You want to go on bicycle rides. You want to talk about, whatever your thing is, there's a group on meetup.com. You put in your zip code and your interests. My zip code, bicycling. My zip code, football. Whatever it is. There's an amazing, great, big, beautiful world out there, and most poor suckers are missing it. So let's enjoy it.
Yeah.
Spoil yourself. No one else is gonna.
Yep. You deserve to make it a better day for yourself.
I agree.
Yeah.
That'll be your next book. That's a great book title. That'll be your next book. I'll buy the first copy.
Okay. It's been such a great joy to talk with you today, and I hope you'll be willing to come back sometime if there's another topic you'd like to discuss. The door's always open.
I'd be happy. Rob, what I would ask you is your viewers, if they're telling you they have needs for things that I can be helpful.
Yeah.
If your viewers tell you things that they need and I can be helpful, you want to have me back, let me know and I'll put something together and we'll do something.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So if you've heard it here first. If you have any kind of questions, comments, whatever, drop them below in the comments and we'll get in touch with you. Or if you want to email me, you can email me at rob@myliferewired.com. It's this title here, My Life Rewired.
I love that.
And I will respond to you and we'll get you whatever information you need. And you can see that Tyler is a wealth of information.
Wonderful.
So,
may I leave my information? I want to be clear about my information.
Absolutely. Yes.
If somebody is a recovering person from Brain Injury Association or a brain injury, you have a need to speak to me, or you have an anxiety issue or some other issue that you want to talk to a therapist, and you live in the state of New York, you can only see your doctor in the state that they're licensed in. If you live in New Jersey and you go to work in New York, I can still see you when you're physically in New York. Everything is telehealth for me right now. My name is Tyler Mendoza. I'm an LMHC. That stands for Licensed Mental Health Counselor. There's a lot of different kinds of therapists. We could do a show on just the different licenses and what it means. That would be a show. I knew that I wanted to be a clinician. And so what I do is I'm a clinician. And so that was the only program available in New York State that was 100% clinical. And that's my specialty. You can look me up on Psychology Today. You can look at my website. I can say it out loud or you can post it. The website is Premier CNP. My practice is called Premier Counseling and Psychotherapy, but it was too long of a name. And so it's www.premier.com. If you're not in the state of New York, I couldn't work with you. If you're in the state of New York, I could work with you. If you have insurance, great. If you don't have insurance, don't be scared by the price of my website. If people can't afford it, I can be supportive where I can be. Awesome. I want to say kudos to Rob because he suffered a brain injury just like everybody watching the show, or maybe you're a caregiver and you want to learn. And he's sharing what has helped him in the book and through the podcast. And so high five to Rob and high five to everybody watching because you're all trying to make a difference in your life as well.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I'm going to put a link to your website in the comments.
Thank you.
So if you can't type that out or you couldn't quite make it out, there will be a link below. Just click on that and it will take you right to Tyler's page and you can get in touch with him.
Thank you. I want to speak to your audience for a moment, just briefly.
Sure.
Every single person who can hear my voice, even if you don't believe it, you are enough. I believe it and I know it. You don't know it yet, but you'll know it one day. So keep that hope. I might believe one day I'm enough. If you can't say I'm enough, I'm learning to accept one day I'm enough. When you believe that you're enough, you start to give yourself love. People are mean to you. You don't have to put up with it. You can send your food back. It's not what you ordered. I am enough. I deserve to have the food that I ordered. I deserve to have respect for my family and friends. And if not, I get to find family and friends who can be respectful and supportive of me. I am enough. And if I can't say that, I'm learning that one day I'll believe I'm enough. You're all very brave. Thank you, Rob, for everything. You're very brave too.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Hang on the line there and I'm going to talk to you real quick offline. But guys, thank you so much for joining. If you've enjoyed the program today, click like and subscribe and share it with somebody that you think can use this information. You never know when you might touch somebody's lives. but just what we've heard today. See you guys next week.